Well, thank you for joining me on today's live show. I'm Rick Newberry. Looking forward to our great conversation we have planned. So just as we've done in the other live shows, as you're joining in, feel free to identify what school and location you're from. I always like to see who is joining in with our Facebook Live show. And I know you've all been making adjustments in this new reality, this new normal that we've been experiencing over the last several weeks here. And it's been amazing to me to see how school leaders have responded and been innovative. They've had to change and really pivot very quickly to move to distance learning, to adjust admissions and marketing strategies. And it's been exciting to see that and to be able to have these discussions with school leaders across the country and really around the world about what they've been able to do. And so hopefully these shows have been encouraging to you. And I know that they've been encouraging to me. So grateful for this opportunity to be able to share with you. And as you know, my shows had been running twice a week. So on Monday and Wednesdays. Great opportunity in April, had 10 shows. And so all those are available on my YouTube channel. So you can go back and you can access those, or you can also find those on my Enrollment Catalyst Facebook page. And you can check out some of the interviews. The last two that I had were two exceptional ones with different schools that I've worked with, the Brook Hill School and also Ben Lippen School in Columbia, South Carolina. And so it was great to hear their stories and strategies of what's working for them. And you may be interested in hearing from them and listening to those recordings. So again, you can find those on my YouTube channel. You can also find those on my Enrollment Catalyst Facebook page. And so great opportunity for you to tune in and learn from those experiences. So we have a few people that are joining in, and so they're identifying where they're from. So great to have Sandro here from the Darrow School. Wonderful that you're a part of us today, part of the live show. And Sandro has been following and being a part of this show for quite some time now. And also Laura's joining in from North Star Marketing. And so it's great to have you here, Laura, and to be part of this live show. And so grateful for the opportunity for all of you to be here. So again, as you join in, feel free to identify the school or organization that you're with, and let us know that you're part of this live broadcast today. And I will be doing this on a regular basis. So every Thursday at 12 p.m. Eastern time will be my live show. And I've got next week's all set up, and I'll be able to share with you at the end. We're going to be talking about marketing to millennials next week. And so I have a couple guests, and they've spent some time researching and giving other webinars and conference talks on these topics. And it's an important one for us to consider. So hopefully you'll be able to tune in next week as we focus in on this. So again, tell us where you're from. I know that there's several people who are joining in live, and we would love to identify your school and your location for those that are part of this live broadcast today. Virginia's here from Ottawa Christian School in Canada. So great to have you. And Colin is here from Canterbury School of Florida. Great to have you here, Colin. And Karen is here from Notre Dame High School in Fairfield, Connecticut. So we got several different parts of the country, and also outside in Canada. So great to have a Canadian here to be part of our broadcast and show today. So again, looking forward to all of you joining in and being a part of this live show, because we have a great group. We're going to be focusing in on another case study, another story of a school that I've had the opportunity to work with. And one of the privileges that I have is to work with some outstanding teams. And I love that. I love being able to connect with the head of school, the admissions and marketing directors, and be able to help understand their situation and provide the coaching and direction for the strategies that they need to implement. So Tristan's joining in from Portsmouth Christian, so she's supporting her team. And Kelly is here from the River Academy in Wenatchee, Washington. So great to have you, Kelly. And we're also seeing Courtney here from FACS. And so Courtney's actually going to be one of the guests next week that I was talking about. Amber's here from Canterbury School of Florida. And bless you, Mike. I heard, yeah. And we're looking forward to just a great group. And Becky is here from Valley Christian in Auburn. So some wonderful schools represented here. But today we're going to focus in on Portsmouth Christian Academy. So Portsmouth Christian is a school that I had the opportunity to begin work with a couple years ago, and actually 2.5 years ago. And you're going to have the opportunity to connect with 3 members of the team here, and we're going to interact with their experiences and their successes and the strategies that they've been working to implement. So I'm going to begin by introducing the team, and I'm going to start with Elaina. Elaina is the Director of Admissions. Welcome, Elaina.
Good morning, Rick. Thanks for having me.
Actually, it's now afternoon where you're at. So
that's true.
Yeah, good afternoon to you.
I'm down in Massachusetts. For those of you who are not aware, our school is up in New Hampshire, but I'm in Massachusetts. You're right. It is noon.
It seems like morning. So, I mean, that's the thing with working from home. It's like, what time is it really? You know, should I drink coffee now or have dinner or go to bed? I don't really know. So
thanks for having us.
Yeah. Elaina, how long have you been at Portsmouth Christian?
So I've been a mom at Portsmouth Christian for a little over 9 years. And based on what I saw for our kids there, I knew that if I was going to go back to work and devote 40 plus hours a week somewhere, it was going to have to be something that I really believed in. And after seeing our kids thrive there, I decided that's where I wanted to be. And so I've now been a member of the team for going on 5 years.
Excellent. Great. And Elaina was the first person that I connected with at Portsmouth Christian a few years ago. So we'll hear more about that story as we move forward. So thanks for joining us. And then we also want to introduce Hannah. Hannah Juris is the Education Marketing Manager, if I got that title correct, right?
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us, Hannah. And Hannah, how long have you been at Portsmouth Christian?
So I've been a PCA for 2 years this month. So moved to the area to be a part of this school, and it's been really great.
Yeah, it's great to have you and to be able to see the things that you've been able to do. And, you know, you brought a lot of energy to the marketing effort, and then we'll hear about that. And when you came on board, weren't you kind of right out of college?
Yeah. So I also graduated college 2 years ago this month. So,
yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's been really cool. It's been awesome.
And I often tell your story to encourage other schools that, you know, experience is great. But sometimes hiring someone who has fresh ideas and are innovative and right out of college can be a great fit, especially in the marketing world as we're focused in on technology. So glad that you're part of the team, Hannah, and we'll look forward to hearing more. And then last but not least, we want to introduce to you Mike Runey. And Mike is the head of school. So welcome, Mike.
Hey, thanks, Rick. Great to be here. Thanks for having us on.
Yeah, and Mike, you're in your first year as head of school. What a first year, right?
Rookie year. Yep, couldn't have scripted it.
Who would have planned, you know, COVID-19 during your first year? No,
it's all good though. We're all in it together.
And you're coming from a background in the Army, right?
I am retired military down in coastal Virginia. We have family roots in the area, and we saw the opportunity. It was called this way, and here we are.
That's excellent. And Mike and I, we were joking a little bit before the show started because the beard, the growth here is fresh. Since I saw you last a couple months ago.
Yeah, this is new. It's fresh for everybody, to include me. Never grew a beard, but with the COVID, until the kids come back, I've got a beard, and so we're praying the kids come back soon. We're working on it.
Yeah, I bet
everybody, the whole world is.
You might have one of those ZZ Top beards.
Yeah, I hope not, but.
That's great. Well, thanks, Mike and Elaina and Hannah for joining us. And we have a number of other people who've joined in. Susan's here from the Whittle School and Studios. And also my mom and dad are joining in. So great to have you here. They're faithful followers of their son. So great to have you as part of the broadcast. And Laura's also here from Portsmouth Christian, being able to support her team. So let's talk a little bit about Portsmouth Christian. And I would just love to hear a little bit about the story of where the school was at, Elaina, when you first reached out to me, and the help that you needed, and this enrollment turnaround that you've been able to experience.
Yeah, so we are a Christian private school up in the beautiful Seacoast region of New Hampshire. And the school started 40 years ago. This is our 40th anniversary this school year. And so back in 1979, there were about 95 students. And as the school grew, it grew in its reputation, it grew in its physical size. At the height of the school's enrollment, which was back in, I think, 2005, 2006, the school was in the 800s. And from 2005, 2006 on, there was a slow bleed happening. And a slow enough bleed that I'm not sure that it was picked up on right away, or that we even really thought that it was anything to worry about. We had such a strong reputation capital in the community, in the education space up in that area. Then there was, an economic hit, and we continued to see that decline and attributed some of it to that. At the same time, we were seeing new education offerings open up. Homeschool is a really big deal up in the New Hampshire area. We saw charter schools start to grow and build their own reputations. So just some more competition coming our way. And when I joined the team in 2016, and I was looking at those numbers, I saw this decline, on the spreadsheet that showed a downward trend, and wanted to try and get under the hood and see what was behind that, and also what could we do to turn it around. And so had been paying attention to you, to your writings, to your blog, reached out to you, right? And now here we are today, seeing that enrollment turnaround come to fruition. So it's been a really great story. It's been a beautiful thing to be a part of. And I think first and foremost, I would say, as a Christian school, I would be remiss if I didn't say that we recognize that PCA is God's school, and it was put in this area to be a light of his love and a beacon of his hope in this region. And we don't see this as, this is not my school, it's not Hannah's school, it's not Mike's school, this is God's school, and it will be here long after we're here, but we need to be stewards, good stewards of what he's given us. And tapping into you and your expertise and your abilities has allowed us to extend that.
Yeah, and I've been privileged to be a partner with you all in this effort, and actually been working with you all for 2.5 years now. And so typically my Enrollment Catalyst program will go 6 months, and then schools will maybe continue another 6 months. But I value the partnership and the opportunity that we have to continue to build the program, the enrollment, all the things that we're going to talk about during our time together. So I don't know, Hannah and Mike, if you guys want to comment any about, since you're newer to this turnaround effort of what you've been seeing and the excitement and energy at PCA that, has been helping create this continued momentum along the way.
Go ahead, Hannah.
I think we'll talk about it maybe a little bit more later on, but one of the things that I've seen as really cool since starting at PCA is the community behind our enrollment efforts. So in the 2 years I've been here, I've seen the staff and the families come on board in really fun and unique ways. And I think that drives a lot of the momentum. And with Mike coming onto the team this year, that's improved even more. So I think that that's just been a huge source of support, and that's been really cool for us.
Yeah, so I'm the I'm the latecomer to all this, Rick. So when I even was coming on board, you were a part of the school, and
Right.
I will tell you a couple things. One is, as you're joining a great team. Second is you were already a part of that. And for me, as you being a former head of school and to be able to bounce some ideas, hear what you're saying, and even I really appreciate you putting me in touch with other heads of school, just as I transition from one profession to this one, are really helpful. But I think, some of your principles that you applied, but also some really practical steps that I could do a little bit myself, but really empower the team to do, were just hugely helpful. And again, to join a team already in stride with a plan and a vision and how to, resource it, come alongside it, protect it. It's really, really good to do. So thanks for all your investment in PCA.
Oh, sure. Yeah. It's, it was primed for your leadership to come in to be able to provide the head of school energy and vision and direction. We'll hear more about that a little bit later, but thank you. Share with me about your staff structure, and admissions and marketing, and, maybe also share the journey that we went through to grow the team and the department, because Hannah is certainly a part of that growth.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. So I think that's a really important piece. And if there are any other schools on this call right now who are listening, who are also small schools without a lot of resources, you're going to appreciate hearing the where we came from story, which was we started with an enrollment director and an enrollment assistant. And then we had an advancement director who oversaw development and marketing. And working with her, she had a part-time marketing coordinator. When Rick came on board, that was the team. And there was our head of school, Ben. Very quickly, one of the beautiful things and hard things that Rick does is assesses the team, the organizational structure, the things that a school needs to do and how you're going to get there. And we quickly recognized we did not have the manpower or the financial resources to do everything that had been recommended. But one of the first and most important moves that we made was to hire Hannah. So Rick, you pointed it out earlier, literally still in school. And there's a whole God story behind how Hannah even found us and how that interview went. But all to say, God's hand was on it. And we brought Hannah in with super energy. And again, for all schools who are feeling like I can't possibly hire someone who's got many years of marketing experience, let me assure you that if you hire for potential, you will hire a winner. And so Hannah was hired based on the potential we could see in her, and she has surpassed what we were expecting. And so she's taken that energy that you referenced earlier, Rick, and she has really helped to drive much of our marketing efforts. At the same time, Tristan and I on the team then continued to go down the road of wearing our admissions hats. Tristan really stepped in and stepped up even more so into her role. And then from there, we saw we needed even more. And so we brought on board Diane, someone else who was in our department about a year ago, to handle international admissions solely. We brought Laura Lupinacci on board, and Laura is handling admissions as well. She works right alongside Tristan. And Nate Paul, who has joined us just this year. And actually, there's another example, still in school, but someone with great potential. And any video work that you see out of Portsmouth Christian Academy in the past few months is all to his hand. A very talented man who we are really grateful God has brought in our direction. And so that's our team. We've got Mike overseeing, as head of school. I am the enrollment director. Hannah is the marketing manager. Tristan and Laura and Brianna are in admissions, but Brianna is part-time for international. And Nate is currently part-time digital marketing, but will be full-time when he graduates.
It's great. Yeah. And so the department has really grown, during this time, but it's been strategic growth. It's not like we were hiring just to hire, or you were hiring. Yeah.
So we looked at the big list of recommendations that Rick had made, and it's a big list. And I'll tell you all, it can be overwhelming and scary, and it helps you to really recognize the gaps that you have. It's kind of like going on TV with broccoli in your teeth. So you have to be humble. And we looked at that list and we said, what's going to help turn our school around first? And we based all of our decisions on that. And that's how the hiring structure came to be what it is today.
Yeah, that's awesome. And then Hannah, so you're part of this enrollment admissions department, which I always like. I want to have marketing as part of the enrollment effort, because before, marketing was kind of tucked up under development, and we weren't getting the focus on driving the enrollment. But now that Hannah is in this position, leading the marketing effort, that works really, really well. So, Hannah, from your perspective, how do you work with admissions and the goals of what they're trying to accomplish for enrollment with what you're doing and now what Nate's doing to drive that marketing effort?
Yeah, so when I came on board, I was at the time marketing was still under advancement, and I was kind of in between, but with an admissions focus. And so when we moved marketing under admissions and enrollment, it took away a lot of the noise of the marketing. And with my experience in those first couple months of following up with folks and checking out the admissions reports and things like that, my perspective on marketing the school is so focused on the numbers and the conversations and the and converting those inquiries. So I sometimes see what we're doing as just an extension or a way of complementing the admissions effort. I see them as the same thing in a lot of ways, which has been a really helpful perspective, I think, because it allows us to focus our time and our energy on growing the school.
Yeah, exactly. And that's really, I was jumping ahead to my next question, but, I was interested in the admissions and marketing, departments actually working together as one unified department. And so I don't know if you want to say any more about that, Elaina, or even Mike, from your perspective as head of school, how valuable that is.
Well, I thought it was really critical that Elaina, who had a vision, especially for me coming in, and the arrangement for Hannah had happened just as I was coming in, is that Elena's background in her professional career, but also her understanding of the environment and understanding of our families, and how to communicate with them while we brought them in. I mean, we needed to bring them together certainly at that time, but I mean, I think it was both by personality and by also who basically had the ball, and that structure really worked.
Yeah, that's great.
And then, Rick, I would say that the admissions and marketing team, this team works seamlessly together. This is a tight team, and everyone is focused on the same goal. And when I say everyone, I want to say that started back when we first started working with you. That was a mind shift across our whole school, driven out of this effort that we undertook, but the idea that enrollment was everybody's job. So my child sitting in my teacher's classroom needs to have the best year ever, so that I, as a parent, want to re-enroll my child. That is only going to help the marketing and enrollment efforts. So the team works seamlessly. Marketing knows that the goal is to make sure that funnel, that admissions funnel, is healthy and chugging along. And that's exactly what has happened. So marketing brings those inquiries in through various means, and hopefully we'll get to talk about some of that later. And admissions now takes the baton and says, I'm going to nurture these leads, and I'm going to try and bring them to fruition so that they come out the other side as members of our PCA community.
Yeah, that's the ideal setup. And so I'm so pleased to see it actually working out. In my experience, PCA has one of the best teams that I've ever worked with. You guys are energized. You have the vision. You also have the ability to make things happen. You implement. So, and it's a great situation for you, Mike, walking in and being head of school. Just share us a little bit about how you're involved in actually leading and maybe even inspiring or pushing the team a little bit further, because that happens in some of our meetings that we have.
Yeah, no, well, at least from my perspective, and I appreciate getting the question ahead of time, because to be honest, I don't know if I've thought of it exactly this way, because the team already had the direction and momentum, right? There were things that they wanted to do. And I think there were a couple things that we did early on that at least helped me join the team. And then I think, the three things that we do is we try to get out in front in time and resource, just understand where we're going, protect the team, and then resource the team. That's my job. But one of the things that I think really helped is and Lena and Hannah do a really good job, and their team does, of telling our story clearly. And I had some things I wanted to emphasize and to work with them and to clarify that both for external and internal audiences was really helpful because they're both really good at it. And then what platforms do we put it on? And so one thing we did a little bit differently, depending on the approach, it's no right or wrong, but is our approach is, Hannah has a really good systematic way of how she's going to go communicate to a particular market. And I walked in on that and I could see it. She had a plan, obviously tied to admissions that we just talked about. But I also, just by my own personality, wanted to get out there, but I don't want to cross up Hannah. Right. And so when we talk about the messaging and theming, but it's not, it's broad, but I will tend to do some of my own thing, both on social media, in different ways, but also a lot of just internal communication to families, mostly leaving most of the external communication power to this team, but making sure that they're synchronized and linked, but not being overly formulaic about it. So I trust my team. They're already doing well. They were thinking. We stayed close enough so we weren't crossing each other up, but incredibly proud of an empowered team that if I could give them a little bit more direction and learn from them so I could do better myself. In the military, we call this just intent-based leadership and intent-based focus. They already had it, and then resource them. So that's my perspective. I don't know what what their thought is. I think inside of the staff and faculty, just really emphasizing how important it is enrollment writ large, right? So new families, our current families bring new families, and really fostering that whole approach. And you put me in contact with Tony Fajardo, and he reinforced that with me in a really good and winsome way. So that's just probably a little bit too long, but give you a feel from my perspective what I was trying to do.
Yeah, and it's really a team, and you're the cheerleader. You've already got a great team in place. They're doing wonderful things. And so you can just be that encouragement. I like how you said that, where your goal is to protect the team and resource the team and, keep everybody moving forward. So let's talk about some of the strategies that you all have in place. And we're going to talk about, just for the audience to keep in touch with where we're headed, talk about some of the admission strategies and marketing strategies. And we're going to talk about variable tuition and how that's worked at your school, and talk about storytelling. So some pretty exciting stuff. And PCA, again, is an exemplary school from my perspective, because you all have moved forward and implemented most everything I've ever recommended along the way. So you guys have been great students. I appreciate that. I'll have to bang my head against the wall and say, why doesn't this team get it? You guys get it, and you're able to, move forward and put it in place. So let's talk about admissions and some of the strategies that you and your team have been working on to recruit those new families to the school.
So I think I really would like to turn it over to Hannah and let her address those things that have made a difference in bringing the families into the funnel. Can we start there?
Sure.
Okay.
Put Hannah on the spot here.
All right. So I think that one of the biggest things that we've done, well, I guess there are two main things to help bring families into the funnel. The first, I guess, would be the awareness side. So building awareness, and that's been a very digital effort. We've shifted a lot of our marketing dollars towards digital marketing. And so we're doing a lot on social to build awareness, but search engine optimization and paid Google ads have been two of, I think, the most important things that we've done. So we worked with North Star Marketing on both of those efforts, and our paid search campaigns have brought in so many leads to really fill the funnel. And we've been working, and Elaina maybe can talk more about this, but how to really follow up with those leads in a way that's different from leads who come in through other sources. That's something that we've been recently really honing in on. So yeah, I don't know if that kind of answers what Elaina was thinking, but through that and streamlining our web process so that families who are looking for us can find the information they're looking for and putting the right information in front of families before they even inquire, I think has been, it's been an effort that is taking a long time, and we're always improving, but it's definitely feeding the top of the funnel.
Yeah, I would add to that and say, when you think about who our customers are, us being schools, our customers are entrusting their most valuable possessions with us, their children with us. And so it is paramount that there is as much of a personal touch in this process as possible. So first and foremost, any lead that comes in the door gets, assuming that the lead has come in with a phone number, gets a personal phone call. And there are lots of other touches along the way. We implemented lead nurturing sequences. That was a recommendation from Rick, which allows us sequentially on every certain number of days, prospects will receive a communication from us, a digital communication from us. We continue to send out the hard copy packets, those packets that you all wonder if you should still print folders and brochures and whatnot. And you can debate that topic on your own at another point in time, but that's a part of our process. It's a tangible that remains on a counter, on a coffee table, let someone else look through it. And we continue to nurture those leads in various ways, phone calls, emails. We did try the chat. So, Rick said, we're a school that's tried everything. I will tell you that sometimes you try things because you're not sure if it's going to work. So don't be afraid to try things. Anybody who's out there wondering, is it worth it? Particularly the things that don't cost you much, try it. You'll know for your own school whether it's going to work. But we definitely shifted more towards the digital format. As Hannah said, we had always been radio and print up until the time we met Rick, and we moved rather quickly into not completely away from print and radio, but definitely with limited resources, moving them into the digital space. And never before has that been more important than it is right now during coronavirus, where stay-at-home orders and social distancing means people can't see your school, at least not in person. And most of them are flipping through their phones and scrolling through emails and watching a lot more screens than ever before. So we're trying to meet them where they are. And that's been our mantra, or our modus operandi, really, since we started with you.
Yeah, in fact, you were working with, I believe, a local company, and you weren't getting the return on your paid search advertising. And so that's why you made the change to work with North Star. And I've had them on my live show, and they're a regular referral partner. I'm sending schools all the time to North Star because I know that they can deliver.
Yes.
And that's exactly what you found, because 2 years later, you've been working with them, and it's providing that steady stream of leads for you.
Right.
And I think every school needs a partner to help you in some of these enrollment and marketing strategies.
Well, and the beauty of working with North Star is the people on the other end are people who have been in this space. So the person we work with over at North Star, Kayleen, I saw that, I think it's Laura is on this call from North Star. So shout out to North Star and specifically to Kayleen for all of her work with us. But, it's helpful that somebody else understands the journey, the buyer's journey for the customer, and also the process for the schools. And I think all of us who are sitting here on this call in admissions, we love our schools, and we want everybody to know about our schools. And yet the reality of our budgets and our resources, human resources, is such that we can't make that happen overnight.
Yeah.
So don't be discouraged. Take the pieces you can take and move from there.
Exactly. So we have a few other people that have joined in. Regina's here from Heritage Christian in Indianapolis. So great to have you here, Regina. And Jennifer's here from Hope Academy in Charlotte, North Carolina. And again, if you've joined in, tell us the school that you're from. We love to see that. And if you like the show, click on that like button, share some love, and show your support to the PCA team. But let's talk about marketing a little bit. And we know we've already gone there somewhat, but I would love to hear more from you, Hannah, about some of the marketing strategies that you've been working on, like videos and other types of approaches to be able to get the story of Portsmouth Christian out into the community.
Yeah, so like we were saying earlier, the shift to digital was a big thing for us. So a lot of our efforts and our marketing budget goes towards things like our paid search ads. But part of that was also elevating our presence on social media, and really putting an intentional push and focus behind Facebook. And more recently, Nate has been really taking the charge on Instagram to reach those other families and our students. And we've seen that to be not only a beneficial way of spreading the word and building community, but it empowers our families to share about their school. And I think that one of the coolest things for me is when I see families that are sharing our content with their friends or tagging their friends who don't go to our school yet in our posts. I find that really encouraging. And I think it tells us that we're doing something right here at school and that our teachers are doing something right. And that our job on the marketing side is to empower families to tell that story in their own way. So those have been some areas of emphasis. We've introduced some ebooks, and we've put an intentional focus behind our blog to provide value-added content to families. And all of these things feed the funnel, but they also feed our families, the families who are already here. And they encourage our prospects and families who are in our funnel to really see the life behind our school. And I think it's really cool that in marketing, we can support all those areas in the funnel by elevating the school's profile in a different way. So that's been a big focus for us. Empowering our word of mouth ambassadors, our friends of PCA is our word of mouth group. And like I said earlier, those people have come behind us in different ways all the time, but the support from them is something that I think we couldn't do this without them. And I love that they're a really important part of our marketing, and building those relationships and sending them out into the community, I think is one of the biggest and like most impactful things that we can do. So we've introduced all this extra digital marketing, but Elaina will still tell you that most families come to PCA because they've heard of us from someone else. And so we're here to come alongside that effort and to support that effort too.
What I like about what you're doing is it's a comprehensive approach. So sometimes I see schools, they'll be grasping at one strategy, throwing money at billboards, thinking that's the answer. But honestly, it's about a comprehensive approach. And so you mentioned several things, your friends of PCA. I think I remember, if I remember correctly, you mentioned recently in a meeting we had that you have over 200 parents who are part of that group.
Yeah.
That's incredible. I mean, tell us just a little bit about what that group does to help with the word of mouth marketing.
I think the biggest thing is that group prays for us. And we share a lot of information with them. So when things are going really well, they're the first to know. I mean, Mike knows, and then the staff knows, and the board knows, but then it's our friends at PCA. And they pray for us when things are more difficult and when we're in seasons where we're facing challenges. And I think that that's a huge part of what they do for us. But they also are review writers. I ask different friends of PCA every couple of months to write us a few reviews. They staff our open houses. They invite their friends to our open houses. They share our social media content. I have a couple folks on the Friends of PCA group who I just really need a big hug from us right now because they've been sharing a lot of our content. And they're equipped to tell our story. And so something we've introduced in the last year or so, we send them tips and tricks for strategies for approaching different kinds of questions. So sometimes we'll send them a question like a question about the nuances of variable tuition. And we'll say, you probably are getting this question if you're telling your friends about PCA, and here's the answer. And here's a good way to talk about that. That encourages families. And so we equip them with the language they need. But they're the people who pray for us and who walk into school and ask us what enrollment looks like. And I think that that's just one of the coolest things about building the community that wants to see our enrollment grow.
Yeah, that's exciting. I mean, I'm a huge believer and advocate for having your parents' support and help in this word of mouth marketing effort. Mike, you talked a little bit in the beginning about some of the things that you like to do on social media, and I remember when you first came on board, you were doing a lot of video, where you were like going live or doing little recordings and doing interviews or updates on the school. Tell us a little bit about your approach as a new head of school and getting out in front of your community.
Yeah, so we're just a day school. We're dispersed across 3 states, and the bottom line is how can someone get to know you a little bit or get a sense of you? And so I'd done some writing before I came, and it was posted, and we pushed it out. And as you know, a good number of people will actually read that, but it's a portion of it. Other folks will watch, and they'll watch in short bits. And so started to try to do that just to get a feel. Frankly, I'd done a little bit of it before in the Army, but nothing like this. And really the need to get out and put yourself out there, recognizing it may take you 10 takes to get something that you're actually okay with, but that's 10 or 15 minutes of your time. But it really helped me because I was building off of something that the team had already established in terms of themes, messages, and I knew, as we talked about, where to go. So that was one. And I can remember, though, my parents, I know your parents are on, my parents are big fans, but I remember one time my mom and dad said, okay, you need to stop now. This is a little too much, which was helpful. I don't know about you. I need to, feedback and, how do you get the camera on other people? And, actually one of our favorite was to go down and interview the kindergartners. Right. And I was trying to tell the story, but I had the kindergartner, and all of a sudden it's like, of course. The second one we did a Mondays with Mike series, partly to get to know me, and Hannah and Nate had set it up, and we're doing it. And I think it was really Monday monologues with Mike is how it started off. And what we found, I remember going in and Hannah was giving me some feedback because I'm a data nerd, so I want to see how it's all working. And she's basically, hey Mike, they're dropping off at 30 seconds, and you're talking for 8 minutes. I said, I think we need to try something different. And it was, and she was absolutely right. I mean, and so we did, and we brought guests, a little bit, not quite as this is really, high bar here, Rick, but we did something similar, really talking to our different people, and we had much better traction. It's much more interesting, frankly. I mean, let's be honest. And so I guess what I'm saying is that the willingness to try things, some of your team is doing things. And there's so much I'm even hearing today. Like, I have no idea that they were doing all that great stuff. But just let them go, try it, adjust. It's okay to make mistakes, or it's like, it didn't work out. And I just gave you 2 examples of what we tried. Like, hey, the intent's there, but let's modify it. There are a few things we just said, no, we're not doing that anymore. Let's try something else. But I think behind it all is the heart of what you're trying to do. Connect with your families, your current families, connect with other families. They're out in the community. You believe in what you do, the mission your school's called to, and how to get that message out. And to work with a creative team, I mean, all the folks on our team are just completely committed to the mission. That's what makes this so easy. Then we go, hey, what do we want to do now? It's not like what do we need to do? It's like, what do you want to do now? Let's try this. And it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's great. So you mentioned, I think Hannah or Elaina, you mentioned the variable tuition a little bit in one of your comments, but I'd like to spend a little bit of time talking about this because, as you know, this was a concept that I introduced to your team a couple of years ago, and you embraced it and have implemented it. So tell us what variable tuition is and how you have put that in place to be able to attract parents to your school. What does it do? How does it work?
Yeah. So variable tuition is a program that allows us to set a family's tuition rates based on their unique financial position. So it's basically financial aid in reverse. So instead of telling people how much aid you're going to give them and have them do the math and subtract it out from the tuition to find out how much they're going to pay, you just do it for them. So it's still financial aid. It's still them submitting to your financial assessor their information, tax data, and then based on that assessment by that third party, we are able to set a family's rate. And I'll tell you that it has made a tremendous difference. And I know that I'm telling you it's the same thing as financial aid, but it is not the same thing in the minds of all families.
Mm.
Financial aid is often viewed as a handout. And there aren't too many people who will stand up and raise their hand and say, ooh, yes, I'm a family who gets a handout. You will, however, get a lot of families who say, hey, I don't know that I can pay this amount. I can't pay that full published rate. And it sounds like you do this variable rate thing for all families. And so that makes me a lot less uncomfortable to move forward with this. A lot of people in the faith-based side of the world feel like they shouldn't take a handout. They feel like maybe it's an example that they're not being good stewards of their finances, or that they should allow that money to be made available to families who are in more need than they are. And they don't know what that's even benchmarked against. So again, this is just a change in the language that allows people to get more comfortable with the idea of it. Beyond that, what variable tuition has done for us, because by the nature of more families feeling comfortable with it, it allowed a conversation to happen that was not happening before. Before, people would see our tuition rates, and we feel strongly that those tuition rates should always be published. So for us, they're right front and center in our admissions information. We want families to know coming in what it's going to look like for them. So we put that range right up there. And suddenly, instead of balking at the published rate, which was just one number, they're now seeing a range and they go, ooh, that might be more doable for me. So more families started to inquire, and really neat was more multi-child families inquired. We had started to become a school where we were becoming more heavily weighed on the single child family, because multi-child families they couldn't even fathom sending only one child, and so they wouldn't send any. So variable tuition has allowed us to make PCA more accessible to more families in our region.
And that's exactly what it does. It changes the messaging, and it helps to break through that price barrier.
That's right.
Yeah. So can you all share a little bit about how you've marketed that? In what ways have you pushed that message out so that people in the community would be aware that you have this variable tuition program and what it means?
Yeah. So I'll start with where we started. Hannah and Mike weren't here then. And then I'll let you take where we've taken it. Even in just the past few months, we've made some tweaks and changes in our variable tuition messaging. And then Mike, I think, you're front and center with both donors and families. And you could speak a little bit to what you hear from both sides and the kinds of conversations that you're having with families. So when we first started, we basically took our financial aid information and language, and we just flipped it. We turned it all into variable tuition. We created a video that would really very simply explain what variable tuition is, what this whole concept is. We created frequently asked questions and just tried to make things as easy as possible for families. So we blasted it on our website. We put it in all of our social media posts. It was in news releases throughout our region. We started adding it to ads. We featured it in our open house. We created little flyers that we could give at our open houses. We posted them at our front doors, all of our entryways, so guests who were coming and going throughout the year would be able to just grab one on their way out and learn more about it. And really from there, it took off pretty much on its own. And as more families found out about variable tuition and received it for their own family, they would then do that very thing that Hannah was talking about a few minutes ago, and they'd go spread the word. And so we received a number of families who were referrals from the original VT families. And this year we have, I think it's 203 students receiving variable tuition, and we already have 248 applications for variable tuition for this upcoming school year. And that's a great story to be able to tell families, seeing that a school like ours is more accessible than they thought it was. Cost is one of the biggest objections when it comes to private schools. So this has been an easier way to overcome that objection.
Right. Hannah and Mike, you guys want to add anything to that?
Hannah, I thought you could share about
the
stories and the ranges that we've been offering, and sort of the snapshots of sample families, things like that.
Yeah, sorry, I think my internet is maybe being a little bit finicky, so I apologize if I cut out. But more recently, we've made an intentional effort to add variable tuition in a different way to some of our lead nurturing. So targeted lead nurturing sequences for different grade levels, and using that variable tuition message differently depending on who we're talking to. And then one of the things that I think has been a huge help in our recent months is we introduced a page on our website that gave some variable tuition case studies. So if I look at the range, I don't really know where I fall, because I don't know what the qualifications are, but we gave 5 case studies, 5 family stories, changed up the names and didn't give pictures or anything, but just said, this is kind of where the family's at. This is what their expenses look like. And, they're caring for an elderly grandmother, so their situation's a little unique. And this is their variable tuition number. And I think that that's really helped families identify with variable tuition. And we've been kind of pointing families towards that, because it's not unusual to get a call where a family says, okay, if I tell you how much I make, will you tell me what I'll get in variable tuition? It's like, no. But that's a really helpful benchmark for a lot of families. That opens the door for them to either submit an application or come in for a tour and consider if they're really serious about it.
Yeah, I think from my perspective, one of the things that as I learned about this and came onto the school, both the board and the staff really helped me see 2 important things. The first was when we looked at the families and the variable tuition data, how heavy a load were our families really carrying? And we were tying that directly to re-enrollment. And we were seeing there's a limit, and it's probably different for every community, but there was a limit. And we knew that re-enrollment was not where we wanted it to be. And so it was part of the situation, not all of it, but it gave us real insight. But I will tell you that the variable tuition data helped us see our families and understand where they were in a different light. And that was for the incoming head of school. And even this year, as we've done it, we've refined it a little bit, because John Engstrom, my predecessor, invited me to be a part of it last year. So I got to see it. And then obviously this year is my second year. So this is year 2 for me. So really understanding my families in our community much better. The second, I would say, at least for me, and it's a big mindset, and Elaina mentioned already, is that, there's a tuition assistance mindset, but even on the business side, there's we have full enrollment, and then we're giving back. And really, I think for me, it's all about net tuition. It's like, what can the families bring, right? And that's what we build the school from. And variable tuition is basically, what can the families bring? I mean, this is what we need, right? Because we know what it takes to run the school, but what can they bring? And then we work it from there collectively as a, business team, admissions team, and even once you get down to the principals and teachers, right? So I think it really gives us a better perspective on the families and how they come to us. And I don't know about you, it's incredibly humbling to watch this one, it's an investment, it's a trust, it's a sacrifice, it's a faith. I continue to be amazed by our families, and I'm thankful that the way we've approached, and again, hats off to Elaina and the folks who went ahead, how we've used that as a tool to help us connect with our families. Elaina spends a lot, so very few people have access to that information, as you would imagine. It's a high trust position to be in, because we want to protect that for our families. So really it comes down to me, the CFO, and Elaina, and I don't even see the names, right? So it's a number when we have these discussions, and it's a joy, it's humbling, it's really helped us, and we'll continue to develop it.
Yeah, that's great. And so none of your board members are involved in making the decisions on the
Not
variable
at all.
tuition awards. So I see that a lot in other schools. So it's
Not at all.
refreshing that you guys have the ability to make those decisions for your families.
We do. I update them overall,
Sure.
give them a picture, but no, they're not involved in decisions at all.
Yeah, yeah.
They've trusted me with that.
We want to make sure that those of you who are watching have an opportunity. If you have a question for Elaina, Hannah, or Mike, to feel free to enter that into the comment section. I know that a few more people have joined and said hello. Vanessa's here. Great to have you, Vanessa, from Ocala, Florida, at St. John Lutheran, a school that I worked with. Deborah's here from Maranatha Christian in Minnesota. Hopefully you guys are entering springtime up there and you're not seeing the snow anymore. And Joanne's here from the Christ School in Orlando. So it's great to have another Floridian joining me. And Kayleen is here from North Star Marketing, checking in on one of the schools that she is working with, because you guys mentioned Kayleen along the way. So while others may be entering questions along the way at this point, I did want to ask you guys about how you have adjusted any of your strategies to the COVID-19 situation, specifically in admissions and marketing. And not that we have a lot of time to spend on this, but what have you been doing virtually?
We have turned on a dime, and it's been amazing. Things that I would have told you 10 weeks ago we wouldn't have been able to do, we are doing right now, and it's been the coolest thing to see. It's been awesome to see this team rise to this occasion. We have done things like create pre-recorded virtual tours. We just had our very first virtual live open house. Hannah will tell you she spent probably the first 6 weeks just nonstop developing new content. So blog posts, updates on PCA's response in the midst of coronavirus, giving people glimpses into not social distancing, distance learning. It's been a complete shift for us, and everything has moved to this new space. Laura Lubinacci she'll take an iPad. You call in and she'll offer to walk you around the school with an iPad. And Mike is tremendous. He just rides right along with us. You want to talk about a great strategy for your marketing and enrollment efforts? It's have a head of school like Mike Runey behind you, because he recognizes the power of what marketing can do and recognizes the value of enrollment. And so he jumps right in and he'll log into a Zoom tour just to do a quick meet and greet. Sometimes we've had meetings that go a little bit deeper, where parents, maybe someone's moving to this part of the country and they want to meet their potential new head of school, and he'll spend some time on the phone getting to know the family. He's got his hand in the re-enrollment efforts, making sure that every family knows that they are valued here. So it's truly a team effort. It's been amazing. Hannah, do you want to talk a little bit more? Mike?
No, I think I would just say Nate has done a really awesome job making our videos show our campus while people can't be there. Mm-hmm. And I think that that's something that is really hard. I think when we created those pieces, we weren't really sure if people would engage with them, because it is so different to watch a video that shows our campus or to watch a virtual open house, but people have really enjoyed them. And Nate just did a really good job capturing the heart of our school in some 5-minute videos, but also in just one 40-minute open house.
Yeah, that's great. Hey, how many people came to your virtual open house, if you don't mind me putting you on the spot?
So if I remember correctly, we had 13 families registered.
Oh, good. That's great.
Yeah, and then this week we've kind of created it as a content offer for families. They can sign in and give their information. An additional 5 or 6 families have already been watching our open house.
That's awesome. It provides an opportunity to experience Portsmouth Christian, whether you do that through the live open house or through an on-demand format. And so it's wonderful to see you guys putting that in place there at PCA. So, well, you guys have a great story to share, and I appreciate you telling your story and sharing your experiences and your strategies today. You guys have been a great group to have on my live show, and I know I appreciate the partnership and value working with you all, and look forward to our continued relationship.
Likewise, Rick. Thank you for everything.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. Definitely. And I'm looking forward to you shaving that beard soon.
Yeah, me too.
Exactly.
Bring the kids back. Bring them back.
That's right. Exactly. Exactly. And as I mentioned at the beginning of the show, my next show will be next week on Thursday at noon. And we're going to be talking about marketing to millennials. And Courtney and Jacqueline from Facts are going to be my guests. They did a webinar for me a couple years ago that's available on my website. And they did a great job. And so we're just going to have a dialogue like this about what do we do and how do we reach millennials, this target generation that we're trying to attract to our school. So any final words, Elaina, Hannah, or Mike, as we close out?
No, thank you for all of your support. And to every school that's on here right now, you're on here because you want to make your school better. So know that we have been on this journey. We are still on this journey, and we're praying for you.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Elaina. Thank you, Hannah and Mike. And
God bless you.
Appreciate you joining us. We're signing off. We'll see you next time.